Hi friends! So, if you've been following this story, how about we just have the title here? You're watching this in the future. I'm filming this in the past. You just watched the two parts, hopefully. If you haven't seen the other parts before this video, I'd recommend you watch it, but if not, the story will still make sense. So, just as a disclaimer, once again, this video is going to talk about medical situations, and as always, this is going to be a recurring thing now. I do not want advice, and just as a reminder, don't give or take medical advice on the internet. It's a vast world of very confusing people, a lot of different opinions. There's not a doctor that you approved yourself. So, take care of yourself, and I'm not going to read your medical advice if you try and send it to me. So, there's that. I wanted to share this because I was in the hospital this week. Some of you might remember that. It was back in June, and that's why you're watching it in the future. I just scheduled the videos out, but this hospital stay and the situations surrounding it remind me so much of the past. I can't stop replaying it through my head. I don't know if this would help anyone or if it's just an interesting conspiracy theory story for you, because it brought up a lot more for me. So, it sounds like a murder mystery, but it's not, because I'm alive. Also, check this. Okay, wait, if you don't like bruises, then look away for 2 seconds. Okay, please show up. Focus, Jesus. This was from, you can't really see it. It was way darker. Now it turned, highlighter color. But that was from a 5-second poke. It wasn't even, a full thing. It was just, my veins explode. My veins literally explode sometimes. Which feels nice, clearly. Yeah. So, I had to go to the hospital because apparently I had pericarditis, which is inflammation surrounding your heart. And in the past I had had something similar. I'm assuming it was the same thing because it can be caused by some type of infection that you're clearing out, and I've had quite a few of those, and I was treating for one recently, so it makes sense. But I wanted to be sure because sometimes if with these severe infections that I've dealt with before, if you treat them too fast, the toxic overload, okay, I'm sorry, this is a science explosion. I'm gonna sum it up and generalize it real fast. The toxic overload in your body can be too much for your lymphs and your heart to process, so there will be a viral overload, and it can cause anything from inflammation like I had to a heart attack. So that is why I went to the hospital, just to be sure. I don't know if it was fully necessary because but I mean, you never know, and I just wanted to have the test and see what happened. Anyway, do you like this little hairspray? Yeah, so the pericarditis made it really hard for me to breathe, and anytime I bent forward, it would hurt, my heartbeat would hurt. Felt like there was a bunch of pressure, it was leaning on the front of my chest, and I could feel it up into this vein and into my temple vein, pulsing, and my shoulder, which can all be symptoms of heart attacks. So we just thought it would be safest if I just tested it. And turns out it was just inflammation surrounding my heart. It can take anywhere from a month to go away, but it's been really hard to talk and breathe because every time I breathe in, it hurts like that, and it's triggering these old memories I have because this, ouch, okay, I don't know if I'm ready to talk about this stuff, but I need to. We're in for a wild ride. You're here with me. I can do this. Okay. Basically, after you've done treatments for a while and certain things aren't working, you start to get kind of desperate. So I basically decided to do a treatment that was in part a research thing. It wasn't the first research type of experiment thing I've been involved in, but this was definitely the one that I am not fond of, primarily because the doctor I had was not keeping good watch over me, and I was having strange symptoms that no one else was having, and he still didn't tell me to stop, which I still have to work on, probably eventually, like, forgiving this whole situation, because it's still something, like, really raw for me. Um, but it felt very similar, and I know from talking to other people that, like, this is the sort of stuff that sticks with you that you can't talk about to anyone else unless they've experienced it. And then if I just leave this video out there, it's easier than, like, talking to someone, because I'm not asking for pity. I just want to tell a story, and if anyone takes anything out of this that's helpful for them, that's why I think it's worth sharing. Like, I didn't explain this in my other videos, but, like, with Lyme disease is something that, like, I think has triggered all of my other disorders. Like, I have a very long list of them. Um, commonly people have co-infections, which are basically, like, it's just like a package deal. Like, you get the Lyme, and then you have all these other infections along with it. And some of them are viral, some of them are protozoa, some are bacteria, and so on. So it's not very easy to treat. You usually have to treat, like, one at a time or part of them. A lot of people treat for parasites. I'm not here, once again, to debate any of that. I'm just explaining the situation. We had tried multiple avenues, and this guy wanted to try something called ozone. Now, a lot of people have a lot of success with ozone, and that's fine. Like, okay. Like, personally, my body was not ready for certain things, and we were so desperate that, like, people had said that this stuff was normal. Once again, I personally feel like some of it was me doubting myself that it was actually that bad. Um, got to the point where I did a bunch of rounds of them, and it was direct ozone. So that means they would, instead of, like, infusing it through some sort of IV, it was like uh, an IV shot. I'm trying to think of how to explain to people who don't know what it is. It's like they just literally put it directly into your vein, like some of the ozone from this ozone creator machine. And it's supposed to attach to pathogens and help your body get rid of it, as, like, at the same time also giving you more oxygen in order to fight and kill it. The science behind it makes sense. A lot of countries like Germany and, like, Switzerland use ozone commonly, but in the US this is like an underground type of practice. I mean, obviously you can do it legally, but I wouldn't go to a traditional MD expecting them to know what that is. We're very, like, Western medicine is very detached from a lot of alternate ideas, and it's very, like, into the chemical engineering of drugs and stuff like that. But with things like Lyme, it's not studied in the US, and I'm not gonna keep talking about that because I can't. Not in this video. Yeah, this direct ozone felt like burning hellfire inside my entire body, and this was, like, the turning point for me in, like, what I was mentioning in another video is, like, my loss of self completely. By the end of the treatments, like, I was supposed to do 30 and I did 29, and I'm someone who finishes everything, but this was, like, I actually thought I was going to die multiple times during it. It was, like, the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Like, I felt like I couldn't breathe, and it's just, I had a toxic overload, and I think I also had ozone poisoning, and this was not well monitored. I did feel like a guinea pig, which is something I don't want anyone to experience. I definitely feel like gender had to do with it. a lot of times doctors don't take people very seriously. At the time, I was still presenting as female, and I don't think that if I were like born identifying as male, and like I don't know if all of this stuff would have happened the way it did, because I legitimately think that people did not take things seriously. I learned not to take myself seriously because we don't respect people who identify as female. Um, which is probably part of the reason why it's been like a very weird, different experience now. And I found it really weird and interesting that, like, a doctor actually suggested I go to get this checked because by the time I had some whatever going on, it felt similar to this pericarditis. After that ozone treatment, like I had to be on oxygen because I could hardly breathe and stuff. Way after, like this is not normal for ozone. I damaged my lungs is what I felt like. Um, it feels like burning and like it feels like your body is rotting away from the inside basically. Like I don't know, I'm not being dramatic. It actually feels really bad. Like everyone around me could tell it felt terrible. um and it didn't, it had like a lasting effect, so clearly it was like not good. I went to a doctor, and I don't know if it was from past things. Like one time they didn't take it seriously that I had asthma, and they weren't willing to refill a prescription even though they already had it on file. So I think my mom got mad, and then they wrote that on my file. Once again, I'm pretty sure it's because my mom is female and they didn't take us seriously. So I went to this person because it was just a local doctor. I didn't want to go all the way to the hospital if I didn't have to, and she didn't take me seriously. She told me to do yoga. So here I am now, years later, identifying as male, and like 3 years, 3 or 4, I lost track of time somewhere in that year because it was so bad. But yeah, they didn't question me. They kept me overnight in order to do more testing. They said if I wanted to stay, I could have. I've never experienced validation like I have when I identify differently. So that's just something to think about. I find it very interesting, and I do feel like that part of me doesn't exist anymore that exists back then in a way. Like a lot of people feel like they don't want people to think like, oh, you're changing, like if when you come out as trans, but I kind of feel like this whole part of me didn't have to do with gender. It had to do with I had created this identity because I was trying to fit into an identity that didn't fit with who I was, that it was so fake and so messed up from everything going on that it wasn't me. And I don't feel like that person exists anymore, which is up for interpretation. I don't think it's bad at all. But I still like am not going to forget those things. Like even thinking back on them, it'll well, I mean, actually, right now, after talking about it, I kind of feel like a weight has lifted, but it's going to be hard for me to post this. So, yeah. Once again, I don't want any medical advice. None of this is happening now. It's a story from the past. So, thank you for listening. And I eventually made it out of it okay, and I'm very certain it had to do with finding passion in artwork and like finding who, like how I identified. Um, it's really important if anyone you know is coming out, like even if it's confusing for you, like then give yourself the space you need to accept them, because that's all that anyone wants is acceptance and validation, and people are already isolated enough. They just need more friends. So be good to each other, everybody. Once again, I'm going to leave some hotlines down below, and if you are in need of support and want some friends, look for some local support groups or something, or try to find like there's Instagram accounts out there, there's Facebook groups with people who are going through similar things. No matter what your situation is, even if it seems kind of strange, there's someone out there who's been through something similar. So don't let yourself be alone, because you're not. I promise. And I'm here for you. So, yeah. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great day. Leave some comments down below about anything this reminded you of, and any questions you have for the next few parts, because there's a lot that I've never told anybody. Okay, I need a break now. I hope you're having a good day. Bye.
I'd like to